This case takes place in the United States of America. Cases of this nature are reported far less frequently, particularly when compared to men. But disturbingly, they are taken far less seriously. Meet Alyssa Anzinger. Alyssa was born on the 15th of January, 2001, and she grew up in a suburban area of Tampa, Florida. She was raised within a tight-knit community in a close Christian family environment. She did not follow a traditional public school path through her adolescence. Instead, she spent much of her formative years inside the family home, under close supervised conditions, rather than a conventional classroom setting. Her upbringing was one of structure and parental oversight. This left her heavily dependent on her parents, which continued on into adulthood, everything from daily routines, guidance, and support. Those close to her described her as quiet and withdrawn. She struggled to navigate social situations and found it difficult to form lasting friendships. She was soon diagnosed with ADHD, OCD, and anorexia. By her early 20s, she was still living in Tampa, working at a local supermarket. People who interacted with her every day described her as soft-spoken and socially awkward. She went under the radar, but she lifted herself out of obscurity when she established a carefully crafted presence on social media in the spring of 2023. But these were not normal social media accounts. She created profiles that presented her as a 14-year-old girl. On TikTok, she used the name Alyssa Zinger with a double R, and she uploaded clips of herself dancing. One young boy later recalled the moment he first noticed her on this account. He said that her dance moves made her look like a 13-year-old. The videos prompted him, along with several other classmates from his school, to send her a follow request, and they began passing the videos around in their group chats. The rapid sharing among these 12 to 15-year-old students created momentum for her content. It didn't take long before individual private conversations started taking place. It's believed that she danced in a childlike way to lure young boys into her DMs. She also had a Snapchat. It's reported that she steered the boys into chatting on this platform instead, so her alleged grooming couldn't be traced. As we all know, the direct messages on Snapchat disappear unless they are saved. The conversation started with light, casual exchanges about school life and music before shifting onto personal topics. She explained to these boys that she was homeschooled. This explained why she was not seen in any of the local school's classrooms and allowed her to claim flexibility in meeting times. It wasn't long before the messages grew more frequent, with her sharing compliments, flirtatious remarks, and even eventually explicit photographs and videos of herself. And soon enough, she began meeting these boys. The first real-life encounter with a person who became known as the primary victim occurred at the end of May 2023. Alyssa had been speaking to him through Snapchat. According to the victim's own account, on the 27th of May, it's alleged that Alyssa commenced a sexual relationship with him, and she had told the boy that she had engaged in similar activities with other minors. Over the following months, their contact settled into a sustained pattern of meetings. They saw each other roughly 30 times between the end of May and the middle of September, with nearly all of the encounters taking place inside the boys' residence in the Hyde Park neighborhood. It's not known if the boys' parents knew about these encounters. Throughout the same stretch, she continued sending him explicit photographs and videos of herself through Snapchat. As the summer advanced, she became acquainted with several of his other classmates, and she exchanged the same type of explicit images and videos with multiple boys. It's even alleged that she got one of the boys to send her videos of him having intercourse with other girls at his school. She then got this footage and distributed it. As is standard in cases like this, the victims have not been publicly identified, and their anonymity is being protected. Then a tip about her activities reached Tampa police on the 19th of October. The Tampa police received information about some of the material that had been circulating among several children in the school, and one of them was able to identify Alyssa when he was questioned. It was clear that something heinous had occurred, and it was possible that the children didn't fully understand. Multiple boys at the school were questioned. As an inquiry began, detectives assembled a search warrant for electronic devices, accounts, and related materials connected to Alyssa. On the 24th of November, 2023, officers executed the warrant at the Anzinger family home, where Alyssa still lived with her parents. Body camera footage from the operation was recorded at the front door. Alyssa's father, Josh, handed over a mobile phone while explaining that the family wished to cooperate fully. However, he gave detectives an old inactive phone last used in 2021. She later claimed that she had lost her real phone. Following this, Alyssa was placed under arrest while detectives looked into the case further. 4 additional boys between 12 and 15 provided statements. One of the boys explained that he and Alyssa had spoken on Snapchat before meeting at the Gasparilla Festival. This festival is a large parade held in Tampa most years since 1904. It's fun for children. Another recalled meeting her at a movie theater in March of 2023, followed by some alone time in a nearby apartment. It's during this inquiry that they found that she had allegedly distributed child essay material. In total, she was charged with 11 felony counts. Alyssa then appeared at a pre-trial detention hearing on the 8th of April, 2024, where the gravity of her crimes were read out before a judge. After hearing the evidence, the court determined that Alyssa presented a continuing risk to the community. The judge ordered that she be held without bond. No contact with any alleged victim was permitted. Throughout the remainder of 2024 and into 2025 and now 2026, the investigative file grew with more evidence. However, no further victims came forward. The investigation has shifted toward the final preparation of exhibits ready for trial. But then in late January of 2026, Alyssa Anzinger's father publicly stated that his daughter is the real victim in this case. In interviews in the New York Post published on the 30th of January 2026, he described her as mentally defective because of her diagnosed history of ADHD. ADD, OCD, Tourette syndrome, and anorexia, along with a reported IQ of just 72. Her father claims that these boys initiated the contact and that one of them seduced her and took her virginity. He even referred to the first alleged victim as the little bastard. He argued that because of her mental condition, any contact with her would be illegal regardless of age, and concluded that his daughter is the true victim. Her defense has also referenced her long-standing psychological and developmental issues. She was placed on a mental health watch in custody shortly after her arrest. No broader public campaign, activist groups, or other individuals have called for her to be treated as the victim. And coverage of her father's statements have generally been described as controversial and bizarre. It's difficult to think that the father has shown no shame for what his daughter has allegedly done, nor empathized with the victims. Perhaps it's just hard to accept. She remains in Hillsborough County Jail without bond. Her trial is scheduled for the 26th of May, 2026, but these dates often change. In recent years, Alyssa hasn't been the only perpetrator of this kind. They are rare, but it does happen. Meet Christina Formella. Christina was born on the 29th of December, 1994 in Illinois, and she grew up in Chicago. During her high school years, she excelled. She played for the girls' soccer team, earned 3 varsity letters, served as the team captain, and received honors in 2012 and 2013. She was also a valued student who participated in the PALS program, which paired students with peers who required additional support. After high school, she went to university in Chicago. Following her graduation, she began her professional career as a special education teacher at Highland Middle School in northern Chicago. At this high school, she worked directly with students who needed individualized academic and developmental support. She also volunteered as an assistant coach for both the boys' and girls' soccer programs. Not long after this, she married a man named Michael whom she met at university. The two were very talented and ambitious people just living the American dream, or so people thought. Little did anyone know she was acting in the most despicable way. She was taking advantage of her position and authority over vulnerable young boys. Christina conducted one-on-one tutoring sessions with students who required extra academic support. These sessions took place in a classroom on school grounds, often before the first bell of the day. A 14-year-old male student who began receiving tutoring during the 2022 to 2023 school year was regularly taught by Christina. The same student also played on the soccer teams that she coached. They were well acquainted. Text messages between Christina and the students started around the tutoring agreements, when to meet, and what they would cover, but they increased in frequency over time. And they messaged at weekends. No colleagues at the school, other coaches or residents in the neighborhood reported observing anything unusual conducted by Christina in public or a professional setting during this period. But it's believed that in January of 2023, the contact between Christina and the student turned physical. From January of 2023 until September of 2024, they allegedly engaged in sexual contact on approximately 50 occasions. 45 of those encounters took place in the classrooms during the early morning tutoring sessions. Several others occurred at her very own home, the home she shared with her husband. It seems like when her husband was away, she would bring the boy over. By December of 2023, the relationship had become routine. One morning, the student arrived for a scheduled tutoring session. According to investigators, the two were alone in a room together and engaged in illegal, inappropriate activities before being nearly interrupted by another teacher. They were nearly caught in the act. This near miss was allegedly spoken about between the student and Christina in later text messages. In one exchange of a text, she told this boy that she loved having intercourse with him and described a recent morning encounter as, quote, perfect. She saved multiple photographs of the student on her mobile phone, some showing him shirtless. She also kept extensive entries in the notes application on her phone. These entries referred to the student by name and recorded her personal thoughts and feelings about him across many months, a boy who was barely a teenager. However, the final encounters occurred in August or September of 2024. On the 15th of March 2025, the student's mother examined her son's mobile phone. She then discovered the volume and explicit nature of the messages exchanged with his teacher, Christina. These messages were daily, and they were said to be in the thousands. The mother contacted the police department the very same day. Detectives interviewed the student and obtained a search warrant for Christina's mobile phone. On the 16th of March, officers pulled her over during a traffic stop, and they placed her under arrest. The search of her mobile phone uncovered the full message history between her and the student, along with the topless photographs of him and hundreds of written entries stored in the Notes app. Police were disturbed. What made it even stranger is that Christina just didn't look like the kind of person who would do something like this. Using the digital material from her phone together with the student's statements, investigators built the case against her. The following morning, on the 17th of March 2025, Christina appeared in court. She faced one count of criminal essay, along with other crimes. Remarkably, The judge released her on bond with conditions that she have no contact with a student or any person under the age of 18, and that she stay away from the high school that she taught at. Since then, the scale of her abuse was uncovered and the charges ballooned. In June of 2025, a grand jury returned 52 total felony counts. Christina's husband, Michael, has not given an interview or a public statement about the case. However, when detectives first spoke to him on the day of Christina's arrest in March of 2025, he said he knew absolutely nothing about the student beyond the fact that the boy played football. He appeared to be completely surprised and asked the officers, "Is she going somewhere?" as they took her into custody. Since then, Michael has stood by Christina at every major court appearance, even in the face of these allegations. He has even been photographed walking through the county courthouse hand in hand with Christina on multiple dates. Each time he smiles at her and ignores all the questions from reporters. He has continued to live with her and has not distanced himself publicly in any way. Like Alyssa's father, is he in some form of denial in the face of these heinous allegations? After all, Christina allegedly called the boy a stalker and allegedly claimed that he was obsessed with her because she was so good-looking, and she blamed him for ruining her life. Christina pleaded not guilty to all the charges and faces a criminal trial in the near future. However, her date has not yet been set. Female offenders in cases like this are far less common. And because of that, they are sometimes overlooked, misunderstood, or even entirely dismissed. Society tends to view women as less capable of this kind of behavior, which can make cases like this feel more shocking when they do surface. But what makes them even more unsettling is how they are often treated. When the offender is female, there is a tendency for people, especially men online, to downplay it or even frame the victim as lucky. And that reaction says a lot about the world we live in.